Ladies and gentlemen, I am Britnie Turner, and today I have the privilege of interviewing the Sharon Lechter on the G-Force podcast. She is a true force for good. She's written more books on the topic of financial education that have shifted America as we know it and the way in which we even approach getting a financial education. She's rocked my world from the time that I was 17. She is the reason I bought my first house. This is the woman, Sharon Lechter. Sharon, you are a living legend. And I am so excited to have you on here because I have so many questions.
I'm delighted to be with you, Britnie, and I'm so proud of you. It's exciting.
Thank you so much. So Sharon and I got in touch over the lockdown. God put one person on my heart to reach out to, and I was really nervous. I was so nervous because I have very few heroes and idols. I don't watch TV, so I don't know that many famous people. But Sharon has written all of the books that have most affected my life from 17 to where we are today. And if you're a G-Force member, you're here because of her. If you've learned anything from me, I'm in the game because of this woman's work. And I get to ask you the down and dirty questions. How in the world did Sharon become the woman she is today? So I want to hear, how did you get into financial literacy teaching at all, and what was your childhood like for when those light bulbs even started connecting, because you truly are a pioneer.
Well, thank you, Britnie. And it's kind of an interesting story in the fact that I didn't realize what was happening in my brain while it was happening. My family was lower middle class. We lived in a little tiny house between my mom's beauty shop and my dad's used car lot. We owned rental properties that I had to go scrub out between tenants, scrub out the bathrooms, and we had orange groves. But I was embarrassed by this little house we lived in, and I swore I would never be an entrepreneur. I was going to go to college, first generation to college, and become a sophisticated professional, right? Have the long career, become a partner, and retire with the gold watch. And so that's what I did. I graduated from my university with accounting degree. I was one of the very first women to start in public accounting in the Southeast United States, and was on a very fast upward trajectory. But at the ripe old age of 25, I was going, I'm working ungodly hours for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to work this hard, I should be working for myself. So at 25, my parents started looking a whole lot smarter. And I realized that very few people understood the importance of buying, building, or creating income-producing assets. Everybody was chasing the dollar, time for money, for a paycheck. And yet I had been steeped in this knowledge of the fact that your life is so much easier when you have assets that are working for you instead of you working for the paycheck. And so I literally, at that time at 25, I had this pathway, very successful in public accounting. When my clients came to me with this opportunity to step back into entrepreneurship, and I still remember back then, that was before the PC, I had a yellow pad, pros and cons, and it didn't help at all. I could argue both sides. But my hand took off across the top of the page and wrote, why not? And that's really been my mantra even today. Why not do something different? Why not go where someone else hasn't been? Why not solve a problem or serve a need? So I made the decision to leave. And that was really, I never looked back. I went to that company. I started a women's magazine. I helped build talking children's books around the world. And then we sold that company. I moved to Arizona back in 91. Our oldest son went off to college. And in December of 92, after his first semester of college, he had a really good time. He came home in credit card debt. I was so angry. I was angry with him, but I was more angry with myself because I had taught him the things that I knew. The problem was he went to college and he was greeted with a table with free pizza, free money, free t-shirt, free money. And he got credit cards that we didn't even know he had. And so that was December of 92. And that's really when I dedicated the rest of my career to financial literacy. And I'm as passionate about it today as I was back then, because if we truly want to level the playing field for every child, we need to make sure they get financial education in school. We're not there yet.
Why is it not? We're learning about the nucleus of cells in plants and how
Yeah,
to
we teach our kids about condoms. We teach, but we're not teaching them about money.
Why
And
do
I
you
think
think
it
that is?
comes from fear. The teachers actually think that they should be teaching it, but it's the administrators and the teachers unions that are holding us back from making systemic changes. Only 7 states in the country require a personal finance class for graduation. 17 require it be taught, which includes that 7, in some sort of form, so it can be embedded in other classes. It's so not enough. And it's one of my personal missions to get to where we have financial education in school systems.
I'm sorry to get stuck on this. I don't know why it's not in there though. So you said it's the teachers unions in this, but why would they not want people to learn that?
Because it means more work for teachers. It means more training. They, from high school perspective, they have so many credits they have to have before they graduate, and they have maybe 10 semester class units that are elective. I go, just give me one. But there's such a resistance, and the teachers agree, the parents agree, the students even agree. When I go in and teach them, I literally go into the schools as a gift to the schools to teach them, and the kids go, this is what I need to know. We've heard the statement, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. That's because that's where they learn about money. If we truly want every child to have equal access, we teach them in school, and it definitely needs to change.
It's crazy to me. It's nuts. So you've dedicated your life to this, and you've written books, which again are so well done because they're not boring. And when you hear the word financial literacy, some people's brains automatically shut down. But she's done it in such an incredible way. If you haven't read her books, which book would you want somebody to read first, and why?
Well, that's like asking somebody who your favorite child is. So it would depend on if you are fear-based, all right, I would say start with Outwitting the Devil. I read Think and Grow Rich when I was 19. It's changed my life. I didn't realize it until I was in my 30s, but Outwitting the Devil really speaks to the younger generation today about those mind blocks, the fear that holds us back. And certainly of the Rich Dad books, of course, Rich Dad Poor Dad is great, but Cash Flow Quadrant is probably the biggest mindset book as far as getting people to understand where money comes from and the importance of buying, building, creating assets. And so I've written 25 books. So they're all really good depending on where you are and where you want to go. For women, I definitely recommend Think and Grow Rich for women because it really helps you feel related to things that women in the book I share. One you may read and say, this isn't me. The next one says, oh, I could do that. And so it depends on your own elements. And if you feel like you're kind of in a valley, 3 Feet from Gold tells you the ways to get out of that valley, how to get through the difficult times, the personal success equation, understanding your passion, your talents, the power of association, just like you and I have this association now, Britnie, times taking the right action, plus having faith and confidence in yourself. And when I start working with somebody, the areas I find the most need is in that power of association and having confidence and faith in yourself.
The power of association, and we actually just talked about this in a podcast I did for you. For those of you who aren't aware, your brain is actually wired to make you not get kicked out of the village because it tells you you're going to die if people don't accept you. And it's saying if you get kicked out of this circle that you're in, then you're going to get eaten by dinosaurs and you're going to die. You will die because that's how it worked back in the day. You needed people around you to survive. Well, society has changed, and at least hack your life. At least understand that that's one of those triggers. So if you're going to have that trigger because it's just there and you're always going to be fighting it, then pick your freaking village. Pick your village. And by having Sharon in my life, what my subconscious thinks is possible for me to achieve is now reset with the bar of Sharon. Well, if Sharon can do it and you're friends with her, then you can do it. It's a really weird thing, guys, but it's huge, 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 huge. And if you don't quite get to spend time with Sharon like I do, then listen to what she's written. start adopting the kinds of things that the way in which she processes information. If you want to be around Tony Robbins and you can't hang out with him, listen to his stuff. Like, whoever it is that you look up to, if you want them in your village and you don't necessarily get to sit with them, at least listen to their stuff. There's so much free content in the world too. If you're completely broken living in your car and listening to this, there's still no excuse, because you probably have access to YouTube. So start adopting the processes for looking at the world through the eyes of the people you want to be like, and then you will magically be like them. It's crazy. So you said that that's the number one thing that holds people back. Number one in the whole world of all the things.
Power of association and lack of confidence in themselves, that fear. You know, so many people, they don't have faith in themselves. They fear everything. They don't feel like they're good enough. They don't feel like they're ready. They don't feel like, you know, it's easy for her to say. Fear of criticism. And a lot of it is fear of success. They hold themselves back because they're afraid of being successful. And so that fear is so crippling. And particularly with what's happening in the world today, we talk about the fear of death, the fear of poverty, and fear of isolation. And so it's really important to really grab hold of that and say, how can I turn this fear? Because fear does one of two things. It paralyzes us or motivates us. And most of us are paralyzed by fear. We want to get under the covers, turn the lights off, and hope it goes away. The problem is it's inside you. It's not external. And so in order to get it, you have to turn that fear into energy to focus on taking action. Because just by turning that into focus and energy, you start releasing it, and it gives you positive direction.
Oh, I love that. For those that suffer from confidence issues, what advice do you have?
Well, I think confidence is you're not surrounding yourself with the right people. And that's a really important thing. If you have the right people around you and something happens to you that causes you to like go down, want to sink, they're going to lift you back up. Yeah. And so always having someone there that believes in you, that challenges you, having that mentor. People have mentors. The stats are there. They make more money. They're more successful than those who don't. Because a mentor is somebody that's been where you want to go. They have success. They can help speed you around pitfalls and open doors and make introductions to you so that you can expand your network and expand your associations.
That's huge. And I know a lot of people who are just like, I don't know if I want to pay for it, blah, blah, blah. I'm investing money somewhere else. I'll tell you, as a 21-year-old living in my car, I've never not had a mentor. Even when I was living in my car, I scrounged up $2,500 a month to pay for my mentor back then. And I did that before I ate. And you know how many levels I was able to skip and pain I was able to eliminate from my life, because not that they know everything, but if you're trying to gain knowledge and wisdom in a certain area and they've been doing it longer than you've been alive, for some people, they're gonna know how to sum up the steps to you. So Sharon, who have been some pivotal mentors and or inspirations in your life?
Well, they're both living and dead all the way along. I've had incredible mentorship from my own father, who instilled in me that I could do or be anything I wanted to during a time when women were not even in business. I was usually the only one in my math classes or my accounting classes, and certainly one of the first women in public accounting. But I never saw that as a detriment. I saw that as an opportunity that I was a pioneer. I was paving the way. So again, it's your mindset. How do you see it? Do you see it as a detriment, or do you see it as an opportunity? And then, of course, Napoleon Hill has been a huge mentor of mine, even though I never met him. Don Green, who is the CEO of the foundation now, is a huge mentor of mine as well. Dear friends with Brian Tracy and John Assaraf, all of them, you know, we just are collectively supporting each other every step of the way. But I have dear friends that are billionaires, and when I'm with them, boy, my brain just fires off about ideas, and I can really get energized. Whereas if I'm not around them, it's like, you know, I have a lower vision for myself. Yeah. So who you surround yourself will trigger your thought process and your creativity as to what's possible for you.
Whether you like it or not, people, it's a lot like playing volleyball with someone terrible. You're going to become terrible automatically. But if you're playing with somebody really good, you're going to start getting good. It's interesting how that works. I love that. And If you have not read Think and Grow Rich, you have to. It is the common denominator with all truly successful people. I haven't met anybody that's made it far that hasn't read that book. And you are like their preferred author now, right? Like,
Yeah, I have the honor of working with them very closely. And I think, the ability to bring Outwitting the Devil was incredible honor for me. It's almost like I was in conversation with him, even though he was dead, just delivering this work that had been hidden away for 73 years. And it was all about the mindset of fear and how you can blast through that fear. And it wasn't released when he wrote it in 1938 because his wife was afraid of the title. But I think there was a higher power at work that kept it hidden away, because Think and Grow Rich is still the quintessential thesis. It's like a doctoral thesis because it's not one man's philosophy. Andrew Carnegie charged Napoleon Hill with doing this in 1909, and he spent 20 years researching and meeting the most successful men in the world, because women weren't in business back then, and thousands of people who considered themselves failures. And he took all of that information to find that common denominator of all the successful people. And that's what generated Think and Grow Rich. So it was like a doctoral thesis on success. That's why it's as valid today as when it was released in 1937. The problem was when he released it, Napoleon Hill himself was frustrated because here I am providing the roadmap to success, and yet people won't do it. And why won't they do it? Because of fear. So he added a last chapter called The Six Ghosts of Fear. But in addition, in 1938, he wrote an entire manuscript called Outwitting the Devil about how negativity, our own negative thoughts, hold us back. Fear of criticism, fear of death, fear of poverty, fear of old age, fear of loss of love, all of those things, and how we can break through those bondages of fear. And it's a little in your face, but it is such an incredible manuscript, and I was so honored to be asked to do that, and it's something that really does speak to the younger generations today.
I will tell you, this is the book that I run to anytime I start being too nervous to do anything. So I'm going to sum up one part of it to you. It's Napoleon Hill, again, the founder or author of Think and Grow Rich. This book came out 73 years later, just came out 2011. Oh my gosh. And it's so profound. So it's him interviewing the devil himself and asking him all his tricks and how he keeps people down. Now in the book, it says, we're not going to tell you if it's a fictional devil or the real devil. But I need to know, Sharon. Tell me, is it the real devil, do you think? Or do you think he just summarized all of his findings? I need to know. I've read it at least 40 times. I'm not even joking with you. I just it's a very good audiobook for those of you
I was gonna say, if you do the audiobook, you're going to think you're actually listening to Satan. Yeah, absolutely. And it says in the book, Napoleon Hill says, you can believe I'm talking to the real devil or an imaginary man-made devil. The question is, will you derive any benefit from what I share? And I will tell you, I think when you read through it, you will feel, I mean, there's a little bit of that where does the negative thinking come from, right? From negative people. And so it is, my personal belief is that this was a God-given book and it's really an interrogation of the devil. I don't like to say interviews, an interrogation of the devil. And the devil has to, share how he controls people's mindsets. And in it, he talks about the concept of drifting, which is people who are drifters kind of go with the flow. They go, whatever, where do you want to go to dinner? I don't care. They don't have that definiteness of purpose. And the devil says 98% of the world's population are drifters, and that they're the ones that he screws around with. Those 2% of people that are like you, Britnie, who exactly know what they want, they have definiteness purpose, they have the plans to get there, he doesn't mess with them because he understands that they are in control of their own mind. So the question for everybody watching and listening, are you in control of your own mind? Because if you're in control of your own mind, you will be in control of your own destiny.
So true. I actually quoted you on the drifters this past week in G-Force. We were It's so funny you say that the number one thing holding people back is association, because I actually went through who to keep in your life and who to vote off the island. I love using that phrase. And I took the time to define what is a real friend and what is a drifter. So the official definition is a friend is someone who walks with you in life in the good times and bad, encouraging you to be your best self. So real friends, awake friends, hold you accountable to reaching your potential. I want everybody to start auditing their life now. They don't let you quit on things that matter to you. They don't expand limiting beliefs. They encourage you to finish strong versus medicate when things get stressful or run away. They strategize with you to help you reach your dreams. Drifters, these are people who are just flopping through life. You can call them your asleep friends if you actually want to qualify them as friends. They do what everyone else does. They encourage you to medicate or run away. Their main entertainment is what others are doing, and they are escaping consistently. They get mad at you for trying to change or grow, and they criticize you. They are not real friends. So put them in the right box. So think through, who are you spending the most time with? We've all heard, you are the average of the 5 closest people to you, but how true have you seen that in your life and others, Sharon?
It's 100% true. Think of your own family. Sometimes when you make the decision to do something differently and they're negative, they try and pull you back. I always tell people, take a moment and understand, it's not that they don't want you to be successful. It's just that they see you taking action to improve yourself and they're not. And so they feel like they're less, which they are. And they want to pull you back so that they feel more comfortable. The issue is once you actually create success, they're going to be your cheerleaders before they ask you for a loan. But you need to put that cone of protection, is what I call it. Put that cone of protection on you and seek out those people who are going to challenge you and who are going to be supportive of you, who are in similar mindsets, because life is such a better journey and success is so much easier when you put yourself in the right environment. That's one of the major tenets in Outwitting the Devil, is how do you spend your time? Who do you spend it with? And what's the environment that you find yourself in? What are you feeding your brain? And that environment is, think about the news in the world today. It's all negative. I just turn it off. I don't even want to listen to it because that negative energy. And I was never into the woo-woo world. I'm an accountant, for God's sake. But there is no doubt that negative energy around us hits our subconscious mind. And you feel yourself getting edgy. Don't allow it. Turn off the news. Turn on some, Motown, my age group, or whatever you want to listen to.
I love that. It's hugely important. Just like taking care of your body, just like feeding it a bunch of crap, it's going to turn to crap. Same thing with your mind. Wake up. It's not woo-woo to talk about literally physical energy. Honestly, everything is energy. And so just being aware of the effects of things is absolutely massive. So, man, you've changed so much for, I think, the US as we know it. And I don't know all the stats for the ripple effect of your work so far, but being such a pioneer as a woman in business, but then bringing financial education and overcoming these stupid blocks that are holding people back from learning the basics of life. Like, how do you do it? How do you keep the faith when you've got so many obstacles?
Well, I have white hair as a result.
I think it's blonde looking. It looks blonde on this Zoom call.
Well, I think, when I shared with you on my podcast that I lost my son 7.5 years ago, and I kind of went into neutral zone, and was kind of numb for a couple of years. And I thought about retiring, and I actually took some time off, and it was awful. It's like, I am fed, my energy comes from helping other people.
Yeah.
Growing up, my dad would ask me every night, Sharon, if you added value to someone's life today. And I still ask myself that every night.
I love that.
You know, and so I tell people, particularly this year, all right, we all have things that stop us in our tracks, whether it's the pandemic or whether it's a loss of love or like a divorce, a financial setback, an illness. And it's hard. You have to have time to grieve, but then you need to sit up and say, wait a minute, I'm still here. You're
Oh,
still here for a reason.
good.
And there's more for you to do. And in fact, I think I heard when I made that decision thinking about retiring, I got quite a bit of pushback, but I also heard a whisper in my ear from my son saying, get over it, Mom. There's more for you to do. Each of
Oh,
us have more to do. There are people out there that can benefit from what you know, what you've been through, what you've survived, what you've achieved. People, you can help other people in their life and their journey by sharing what you know.
that's so true. That is so true. And for all of my typically ladies, dang it, but for everybody who feels like they aren't enough and they're not perfect, and what do they have to teach? The reason we're talking and met is because I feel convicted it's time to actually write a book. And I haven't written a book because I have never felt worthy. And literally when people ask me a question, like, where's your book? I'm like, what would I write about? So it's like, it's crazy how we disqualify ourselves. But when you ask yourself the question of, do I have anything that I have overcome at all in my life that I wish I could go back and give myself some advice on what I know now, then recognize that there are very likely other people in the world that are dealing with the same thoughts that you were, the same fear, the same paralysis, the same whatever that you were before you went through that issue, because you figured out some way to overcome it. And that little some way is advice, it's a book, it's a podcast, it's whatever, but it is your responsibility to reach back and help other people through the fire. So you've got something, everybody has something. And I want to encourage you to share, because again, if Sharon had ever stopped sharing, I wouldn't be here, and all the people whose lives across the world I've been able to impact wouldn't have that thing. There is a really cool picture I saw, and it was a person standing and they had a V behind them. And it was like, God would only let them see what's right in front of them, which was like maybe one or two people, but they didn't see that the tens of thousands of people who are really impacted. So you can keep your humility, but it's not even really your business how many people you can impact in your life, because it's not about the numbers, it's about the one. And so I love that. I love that. I love that, Sharon. I want to hear some of your light bulb moments in your journey. I want to hear when you very first time you recognized the issue of financial literacy and the lack thereof.
I think the very first time was when I made that decision to leave public accounting, because I'd seen so many businesses, how they were doing things right. And I saw many businesses, how they were doing it wrong. And I was getting antsy in the fact that I was still just coasting in the public accounting world. And I wanted to go back to my roots, which was entrepreneurship. And so that was a real turning point. Now, what I didn't tell you in that story, my whole why not story, is that the decision that I made to go with that client, it was the worst decision, still to this day, worst business decision I've ever made. Found all kinds of corruption in the company. And so within a few short months, I was like flipping out, thinking I was going to lose my CPA certificate.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but had I not made that decision, I wouldn't have met a young attorney who was there. Our company, that we were actually buying a company out of bankruptcy. So it's a whole long story. But anyway, the company had been surviving through some lawsuits, and there was a young attorney that was representing one of the defendants in one of those lawsuits named Michael Lechter. And so we met. It was love at first sight. I tell people we met when he was going through my drawers, because he was doing discovery in the lawsuit. And he was at my desk, and we met, and it was literally instant chemistry and love at first sight. And this year is 40 years of marriage for us. So I tell everybody, Napoleon Hill says, out of every adversity comes a seed of an equal or greater benefit. For me, instant feedback. My worst business decision gave me my best life decision. So not always do you get instant feedback. Sometimes it takes years for you to figure out what the benefit is. But again, it's looking at every obstacle as an opportunity.
I
How
love
can you
that.
turn that into, an obstacle into unlimited possibility? So,
That is my favorite quote in the world. I love that one. And I think in my greatest setback, which was really only a couple of years ago, I had everything happen all at once. The takeaways I got is that everything will come together. It is happening for you. Nothing is wasted. And in every obstacle, again, every obstacle carries with it that seed of equal or greater opportunity. And there isn't one thing, if I tried, now you have to look for it, right? You have to actively be looking for it. You know, it doesn't just lightning bolt into your life, right? It's huge how when you're actively trigger yourself immediately to say, oh, obstacle, there's got to be something here. Like you even look at the obstacle different. You look at it with gratitude, which is amazing. So there's a lot happening in the year of 2020. A lot. What do you think are some of the greatest opportunities that people have not taken advantage of before, or just that they're not seeing because they're getting lost in the news? What are the new opportunities in your opinion?
well, if you are an employee, obviously this has been a very sobering time. And so the opportunity is to start paying attention to how you can start building assets, buying, building, and creating assets. And your greatest asset is the 6 inches between your ears. And so think about what you can do and create to do that. If you, as we look as investors, all right, when I'm looking at what's happening in the world right now, I want to see successful businesses solve a problem or serve a need. We have quite a few problems and quite a few needs right now. I mean, I've got a couple of clients that are now multimillionaires because they early got into the PPE industry. And so they're making hand over foot money that they were literally close to bankruptcy. So
Wow.
they recognized the need and hopped on it. All right. That's not what you should do today because there's so many people that now are following that trend. But again, watching and figuring out where can I make a really solve a problem or serve a need and make money doing it, because there's nothing wrong with being successful. And so I'm looking, and if you don't want to start your own company, see what companies you should be investing in right now. One area that I'm not investing right now is commercial real estate because of this redefinition of doing business. I think there's going to be softening. Well, I don't think there is going to be a softening in the commercial real estate industry. Yet, what's recession proof? Residential rental right now in the B and C category, not A properties. People always need a place to live. And so there are certain things that you can look at and say, how can I really put my money where my mouth is and consider how I can support various investments, but also create an opportunity to buy, build, or create assets that generate that cash flow that you talked about.
I love that. I love that. And that's a different opinion. Okay, this is a random one. But what do you think is going to happen to commercial real estate?
In commercial real estate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be coming back in 5 years because of the fact that the growth of industry and business will just catch up with it. I don't think we're going to see a lot of construction companies that focus on commercial real estate are going to have a very difficult time and go out of business. And I think it's a great time for people to think about how can we convert some of those to other sources and other uses, entertainment facilities, that type of thing. So how can you look at the commercial real estate and say, is it adaptable? Can you adapt it to another use?
It's a tough one out there for them, but I agree with you fully. What other shifts do you think are taking place now? So the high level thinkers that I'm talking to say, I don't think we're ever going to be quite the same, similar to how security changed after 9/11. They just did change. What do you think are some of the maybe short-term things that we may not want to last as long as they are, to long-term shifts happening economically and to life as we know it?
Well, I think I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think, but the greater umbrella is a lot of us have redefined what's important.
Mm.
This world, we're all still breathing, we're all still moving forward, and there haven't been sports games to go to. There haven't been, the casinos haven't been open. We've actually found a way to survive with all that external stimulation. So the issue is what brings you happiness and what is important to you. You know, I look at my closet full of business clothes that I haven't worn too many of those lately. All right. And I was like, all right, interesting. The time there will, people say new normal. There's not ever going to be a new normal. There's going to be what's happening next month, what's happening a year from now, because right now, huge area of adaptation. All right. And we are, no matter which side of the fence you're on, the election in November is going to generate a new direction as to where we're headed. We've got so many things happening and there's such negativity. What's happening in the world with our police, with the riots. I mean, it's just, the world is like quicksand right now. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's so important to come back to what I share with you on Instagram is you are the CEO of your life. You can't control what's happening internationally. You may not be controlled what's happening nationally or even in your state, but you can control what's happening in your wallet. You can control what's happening in your household. So take responsibility for controlling your own spending, controlling how you're making money, controlling how you're educating your kids, controlling the words that you're saying. And quite frankly, people keep saying, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I go, baloney. Don't wait for the light at the end of the tunnel because that means you're depending on someone else. Ooh. Become your own beacon of light. Become the beacon of light where you can add positivity into the world around you because you have a choice. You can have a choice, drag your chin on the ground and be negative and sad and depressed. Who's that helping? Or find what you can be grateful for, what you talk about, your gratitude. Be grateful for what is still here, what you have. And then that gratitude becomes your beacon of light that attracts other people to you. And when you start attracting other people, their lights start shining and you truly can make a positive difference.
If you have not figured out by now why this is one of the powerful voices that I listen to in my life, I think you just figured it out real quick. Sharon, you are amazing. And I'm so grateful for your work. I'm so grateful for you continuing in your work. And I'm grateful that you are willing to be a pioneer, and I want to challenge all of you to find that confidence, to know that it takes these kind of pioneers to be that force for good in the world, and to usher in a new way. If you have something you're seeing that you're frustrated about or don't like or that makes you mad, find a way to create a better system that knocks the other one out of the game. Like, get rid of it by solving the issue and live as an example of what's possible. Live as the change you want to see. We've all heard these quotes, but just do it. Just living it. It's not that hard. That's the ultimate thing you can control is yourself. So with that, I've got a final question for you, which is, with all of this going on in the world, with so many things people don't feel in control, regardless, how can people be a force for good during this time?
Well, it starts with gratitude. It also starts with understanding, if you have children around you, that this has been, their entire lives have been thrown upside down. And so there's going to be some depression. I'm on the National Board for Child Help. We've had in excess of 30% increase in our calls to our child abuse hotline. And so it's a very big issue. And so I'm really concerned about the youngest generation out there that don't really understand what's happening. And their lives they've been cut off from their friends and they've cut off from schools. And so it's important to really be that beacon of light and be that positivity to help just continue triggering the creativity in that younger generation. And for yourself, you have a choice. You can sit and watch Netflix all day, or you can take this time as a reset. And that reset gives you the opportunity, because we talked about Outwitting the Devil, Britnie, and until January or February, I was talking about how the fear of criticism is pervasive in today's society. Everybody's afraid of what people are going to say about them or see them, and social media has made that worse. They're afraid of keeping up with the Joneses. Well, as of February this year, it went right back into fear of death and fear of poverty, fear of isolation, which is in the book, page 61. The devil says his most useful tricks are fear of death and fear of poverty, and that he does on a worldwide basis. So we are there. We are living Outwitting the Devil right now. And so the issue is, how do you get past that and take hold of that and live in a positive environment, control what you can control, and sit back and say, you know what? That's not so important to me anymore. I don't need that. I can redefine who I'm with, but also, who are you reaching out to?
Mm.
In addition to our children, I'm really worried about all the single folks out there that have been quarantined and by themselves. I say, you know, reach out to people. Luckily, we have Zoom, we have Skype, we have telephones. Just reconnect. Social distancing is not human distancing. It's
Mm.
not heart distancing. You can still connect with people and support each other through this process. And as we start seeing the economy start reopening and we have a setback, don't let that fear topple you over. Say, okay, what did I learn from that? How can I be more careful? How can I choose to protect myself? And that's, by doing that, you can set an example for other people and understand what the joy doesn't come from material things.
Mm.
Joy comes from heart fulfillment.
Wow. So good. Ladies and gentlemen, Sharon Lechter. She is a legend. Sharon, how can people follow you and continue to connect with what you're putting out there?
Well, thank you, Britnie. Sharon Lechter at Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and I have my private Facebook group called Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter that I would welcome everybody to join, because it talks about things, how you can really truly be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact.
Awesome. She told me that I'm going to be part of this Facebook, so putting it on the record.
Yes. Your podcast is going to be out on my Play Big Movement podcast, which you can also find everywhere podcasts are. In addition, a second one with you inside that group, the insiders of the Play Big Movement. And I invite everyone, if you go to personalsuccessequation.com, this is not a sales pitch, personalsuccessequation.com, you can download something that takes you through that personal success equation I mentioned earlier, your passion, your talent, your association, action, and having faith in yourself. And it allows you to do kind of an assessment of yourself and things that you can do right away to get that success that you deserve.
I love it. I'm taking the test today. Thank you so much. You are amazing. Everybody, until next time.